You're probably asking, what are we looking at here? This is a piece of spalted maple that has bug holes all through it. And it's been stabilized with cactus juice. We are going to take this piece of wood and transform it into an elegant whiskey glass. You're probably thinking right now, there's nothing elegant about this piece of wood. It's got holes in it, it's ugly, it has this black stuff on the side. All those things will become features, and we are going to create beauty from chaos. Now that it's round, I've decided to fill all the holes in with some opals, hoping that they come through in the final design. I'm just adding the opals in there and then dropping some super glue over the top. It's really thin super glue. I decided to use a solo cup as the mold for the resin. The irony of making a whiskey glass from a solo cup is not lost on me. Time for the pressure pot. Out of the pressure pot, the resin's mostly cured. For some reason the bottom's a little soft, but that's not going to hurt this project. I decided to just throw it on with the solo cup and all. Right now I'm just making the tenon so I can flip it around. Now that we have it securely mounted on the chuck, it's time to rip away the solo cup. And once that's gone, we can start shaping the glass. I'm going for a whiskey glass designed for tasting, with a narrow hole on the top that can direct all the aromas to the nose and make the tasting experience more pleasant. This means that it has a larger vessel at the bottom. Here's an image of a whiskey glass I've made previously. It gives you the general idea of the shape we're looking for here. For now, we're going to let the top of the whiskey glass flare out some. We'll correct that later, but it's to give us stability as we drill the hole and hollow the inside so it's not so flimsy. Right there, you can see a hole that goes all the way through our blank. So I'm going to address that right now. I'm going to put some tape on this side and then turn it around. And on the other side, we're going to fill it with our opals and then pour some super glue down there to hold everything together. While I'm doing this, I'll go ahead and address any other holes or gaps or deficiencies in the blank because we're pretty close to the final outside shape. Now that all the patching on the outside surface is done, I'm just going to scrape off any excess glue that was used to fill those holes. Now we're on to hollowing the cup. First I'm going to drill it out with this smaller bit. I think this one's about 1 inch in diameter. Now we'll come back in and hit it with a larger bit. And after this is done, we can switch over to the hollowing tools. I usually hollow vessels with much larger diameters, but this is what it is. And you can see that laser. That shows me how far my tool is inside the vessel, which is really useful so I don't go too far. When you hollow, my favorite thing is spraying the air gun inside the vessel, blowing all the dust out. Buckle your seatbelts, here it comes. So the inside's hollow, but I'm going to scrape it really quick because that tool is kind of rough with the edges. So this should smooth everything out and make it really nice to the touch. Not that you stick your finger inside a whiskey glass that often. Because we plan to drink whiskey out of this glass eventually, we need to coat the inside with some food-safe resin. You don't need much, but just a little bit. So I'm going to spread this resin around with my fingers and make sure it's touching all the edges. Then I'll put it on the slow turner and let it sit overnight while it turns. It's the next day, and you see me removing the flared top to the glass and then patching any of the holes that got exposed once we did that. Now it's on to sanding. And oh my gosh, so much sanding. So we're on to the last grit, and you can see that I'm wet sanding, and I think it looks pretty good. Now we need to seal the wood so we can buff the outside. I'm using a UV sealer here to speed the process along, but it does give you a nice preview of what it's going to look like in the end. Before we can start buffing, we have to remove the cup from the lathe. And I'm going to do most of that here, because when I put it on the vacuum chuck, it won't be as strong of a hold as I would normally get with a bowl.
Wow!
With small things like this, you have to get creative. Clearly that's not going to fit over our vacuum chuck to create a good seal. So I have a piece of wood that I put a hole in, and then I attach it, and the vacuum will hold that nice and tight. Now that it's being held in place by the vacuum chuck, clearly we need a little more support, so I put the tailstock back on to hold it in place to give the vacuum chuck some assistance. That fall only had a small little chip in the base, so we're pretty good. I'm making a small recess here for the maker's mark. Let's head over to the laser and burn our coin. This process takes about an hour, and I only filmed half, but I sped it up a lot. Now that we have our maker's mark, we can glue that in place on the bottom of our whiskey glass, and we'll be all ready for polishing. With such a small object, the polishing process went rather quickly, but boy, did it make a huge difference. I want to thank you so much for watching, and now it's time for your close-ups.